Welcome back, everybody, to the Baltimore Orioles franchise here on MLB The Show 21. In today's episode, we will be covering the 2021 MLB Amateur Draft, which is certainly really exciting, a major opportunity for us to add some hopefully really good prospects into our farm system and players who can develop at the major league level one day. We took our first look at the minor leagues in a previous episode. Both the AA and AAA teams are doing pretty well this season. I can't really say the same about the major league team. Our Orioles had a pretty bad month of May. There are some good prospects in this farm system. Our farm system isn't bad, but we do have the 5th overall pick in this year's draft, and we have a major opportunity to add some more great players into the system. Only 2 guys with A potential in the entire Major League roster, though, and I'm not sure if either of them will be long-term pieces. The highest B potential player on the MLB roster is the recently acquired Reynaldo Lopez, who we traded for in the last episode from the Chicago White Sox. I'm not sure if Lopez will be a long-term piece in our rotation, but I do like his upside and what he can possibly bring us for the future, even if he's not a great pitcher right now. So let's talk about some of the prospects in this year's draft class. After the draft, in a couple episodes, I will be covering the international free agency. If you want to make a player for international free agency, then make sure to join my Discord. Link is in the description. So let's talk about some players who we could pick at the 5th overall selection. Obviously, we are going to pick a blue chip prospect. If the player has that blue circle next to their name, that means they're a blue chip prospect, so we're going to pick one of them. I want someone whose MLB ETA is within the next 3 or so years, and I don't want our top pick to be a relief pitcher. So, for all of those criteria to be met, I came down to 4 players I would consider with my first round pick. The first one of which is starting pitching prospect Duncan Driscoll, who is really my type of pitching prospect. Somebody who's good stamina, good walks per 9, good velocity, and a good breaking ball. Walks per 9 is a really important stat in MLB The Show simulation, so that's why that's very important to me. There's another really solid starting pitcher prospect in Thurman Voilo, who's only 19 years old, out of California. So there are 2 starting pitchers who fit my criteria and 2 hitters. The first hitter is Julio Lantigua, a third baseman from Venezuela, who's a really well-rounded player, going to be Major League ready very early. And then there's also left fielder Luis St. John. Lewis is a little bit more raw, but I really like his upside. I think he has higher potential than maybe any of the 4 players who I'm considering. So we need at least one of these players to drop down to 5. And considering there's 4 teams who pick ahead of us, chances are we'll get at least one of these 4 players to fall into our laps, and hopefully we can pick them. After those blue chip players, it's pretty much a crapshoot. It's really anyone's best guess from there, and we're going to have to rely on the information from our scouts to determine who could possibly be a good pick in the middle rounds, and hopefully we can find a gem or 2 of players who could possibly be future major leaguers. So without further ado, the 2021 Major League Baseball Amateur Draft is now on the clock. The Pittsburgh Pirates, who finished with the worst record in 2020, own the top selection in this year's draft. As I said, we own the 5th pick. We own the 5th pick in every round. There are 6 rounds total, and we also own a competitive balance round B pick. So 7 rookies will be joining our Baltimore Orioles today. Let's now see who ends up going with the top 4 selections. Thurman Voilo, the starting pitcher, goes number 1 overall, and the next 3 picks were all guys who we were not considering. So of the 4 players I was eyeing, 3 of them are still on the board. Of my 4 guys, Voilo was the one I wanted the least. So my top 3 options are all still on the board. So this has really played out well for us, and we get our choice of any of the 3 players we wanted the most. The first of those 3 guys is right-handed starting pitcher Duncan Driscoll. If I were to make a pitching prospect in a lab, it would look a lot like Duncan Driscoll. This is my type of pitcher right here, and you need an ace to be a World Series contender. Duncan Driscoll, in my opinion, has ace potential. His MLB ETA is not until 2024, so he's a little bit raw, but I really like the skill set that he brings to the table. The safest of the 3 players I'm considering is third baseman Julio Lantigua, who's going to be MLB ready at the latest by 2023, maybe even earlier. Good contact, solid power, great glove. He can't play any other positions in the field, which does hurt, but we do not have our third baseman of the future, so he'd be able to fit right in. There's also Louis St. John, who I think is a little bit raw, but he has a great bat, really good power, solid contact as well. Not a great glove, but since obviously we're in the American League, a player like him could always be a designated hitter. So with all that being said, with the 5th pick in the 2021 Major League Baseball Amateur Draft, the Baltimore Orioles select Louis St. John, a left field prospect from Colorado Springs. I don't think this is the pick that people were expecting, but I think it's a pick you guys are going to enjoy. Let's take a look at him in the Perfect Game All-American Classic. Louis St. John played really well in this matchup. He had a home run, helping the blue team beat the red team. He has great power already for just 18 years old, and pretty good power too. His vision and discipline need to improve. He does not have a great glove in the field either, but he does have good athleticism and is one of the fastest players in this year's draft class. Louis St. John ends up being a 66 overall with A potential, so overall I'm really happy with this selection. You guys will be able to see what potential he has exactly later in the video. So I'm really happy with that selection. I'm really excited to see what Louis St. John can do. He's only 18 years old. He's a little bit raw. He's probably not going to be ready for a couple seasons, but I do really like his upside, and that's why we picked him. So now on to the second round. With all of the blue chips gone, it's really a guessing game at this point. So my strategy for this point in the draft is to pick someone whose scouting accuracy is at least in the yellow, whose MLB ETA is earlier than 2025, and has a listed potential of 80. The guy who really caught my attention is relief pitcher Julian Starnes, because his scouting was in the green. So with the 5th pick in the second round of the 2021 MLB draft, the Baltimore Orioles select Julian Starnes, a right-handed closing pitcher from Haverford School in Pennsylvania. Let's take a look at him here in the Under Armour All-American game. He ended up getting the save for his team and is one of the best relievers in this year's draft class. I think we found ourselves a gem. This guy is really well-rounded. He has good walks per 9 and good control. He has a four-seam fastball, a cutter, a curveball, and a splitter, and I think he can be the closer of the future. He is a 63 overall with A potential. It seems like in most MLB The Show drafts, outside of the blue chip players, there's only one other A potential in the rest of the draft class, and we got him! So pretty much this is the best player on the board. So we have hit a grand slam with selecting Julian Starnes in the second round. He will be our closer of the future if he develops as he should. So there are still a few players who fit my criteria here in this competitive balance round B, but of the players still left, the Baltimore Orioles selection will be starting pitcher Josh Toney of Monsignor Clancy High School in Queens, New York. Toney is 19 years old, although he looks like he's about 49. He's a right-hander who actually bats lefty, not that that matters, and his MLB ETA is of 2024. I really like what Toney brings to the table. He has a four-seam fastball, a two-seam fastball, a changeup, and a slider. He has a really solid breaking ball. I think that's his biggest strength. His changeup and his slider are his two best pitches. Does not have great velocity yet. His walks per 9 are probably his best per 9 attribute. Again, why he was selected here. But his Ks per 9, his home runs per 9, and his hits per 9 definitely need to improve. He's only a 53 overall and ended up being a little bit worse than I had anticipated. But with B potential, I do think he brings solid upside. And again, at this stage of the draft, it's pretty much a crapshoot. We're looking for guys who have at least B potential here pretty much. But I think his MLB ETA is probably 2025, 2026 in that ballpark. On to the third round, both Kurt Vaughn and Jay Guy, the other two players who fit my criteria in the last round, are still available. Of the two players, the Baltimore Orioles will be selecting outfield prospect Jay Guy, an 18-year-old from Ohio. Guy is a left-handed bat. He has great power and great speed. Those are his two biggest assets. Jay Guy kind of reminds me of DJ Stewart, who's already on the Baltimore Orioles. I think Guy here has more potential. He's really fast, which DJ Stewart isn't. But like DJ Stewart, he has poor contact, does not have great discipline or vision, and he also does not have a great glove. He needs to improve there, but as of now, I think Jay Guy's best role is as a pinch runner or as a pinch hitter in a possible needing a home run situation. I think maybe Guy has the potential to develop into a long-term starter, but he does have a lot of work to do. And in the third round, I don't think this is a terrible pick. I don't think his ceiling is super high, but I think the Orioles could have done a lot worse with this selection, and I think Jay Guy does have a major league future. Let's move to the fourth round, and it's getting even harder to fit my criteria of players that I like, and at this point, it's even more of a guessing game than it already was. I may just have to look at players who we have barely scouted and pretty much just take a shot in the dark. The Baltimore Orioles' fourth round selection will be left field prospect Tobias Pennock. So this is the third outfielder the Orioles have drafted. Pennock is probably the best defensively of the three, but that doesn't say a whole lot because Louis St. John is not a great defender, and Jay Guy isn't either. Pennock is a really solid contact hitter. He's a lefty bat. He has really good contact against righties. His power is not that bad either, and I think he could contribute at a major league level pretty early, possibly as soon as next year. I don't think he has the ceiling to be a long-term starter, but I think he can be a really good bench player for a long time, and in the fourth round, if you're getting someone who's going to be a major league contributor for 10 plus years, that's a great pick, even if he's never going to be a long-term starter. Pennock is 68 overall. He only has C potential, which again is not great, but I think it's a pretty good pick for us. So we have picked all high school players so far. We have not dipped into the college ranks once. All 5 players we've drafted are either 18 or 19. Well, that's going to change here. With the 5th round selection, the Baltimore Orioles will be selecting closing pitcher Felix Rosa from the University of Oregon. We have not scouted Rosa at all. It does say he's an 80 overall with an 80 potential, which is the maximum. Will he have a super high potential, and will he be a super high rating? No, probably not, but this is the 5th round, so it's worth a shot. I think Felix Rosa could really still be a diamond in the rough here. His stamina is higher than you'd think for a closing pitcher, and if he can develop his stamina, maybe he can be a long reliever or someone who can at least get multiple innings at a time. With the Julian Starnes selection earlier today, I don't think Rosa will be viewed as the long-term closer, but I do think he has nice potential. He has good Ks per 9 and walks per 9. He has a 4-seam fastball, a changeup, a curveball, and a cutter. So a pretty good arsenal of pitches. And as you can see, we've really found ourselves a gem. 69 overall, nice, with B potential. That's an awesome pick for the 5th round. It's also worth noting that he's a switch hitter. Not that really matters because he's never going to hit, but I did find that kind of cool. And now in round 6, it's even more of a crapshoot than it's already been. Again, we're just really scratching for any sort of luck, and we pretty much have nobody scouted here except for Brian Strawberry and Chad Macias, who really don't fit what we're looking for. So again, even though the player is not going to be scouted at all, it's really just a shot in the dark. Our 6th round selection and the final selection of the day will be third base prospect DeAndre Kuhn from Vanderbilt University. Kuhn is very raw. His MLB ETA is later than 2025, but he has 80 potential. That's why he was the pick here. DeAndre Kuhn has been the starting third baseman for the Vanderbilt Commodores the past 3 seasons, and if you know anything about college baseball, Vanderbilt is one of the best college baseball schools in the nation. Kuhn does not do anything particularly well. He does not have any major strengths or weaknesses, and I don't think he'll ever be a major league player, but I do think he could be a long-term minor leaguer, which at this stage in the draft isn't really the worst thing. He doesn't have any positional flexibility, which is unfortunate. He's really only a third baseman, which isn't ideal. Only a 43 overall with C potential, so he'll probably never reach the majors. If he does, that would be outstanding, but that's really not likely. He does have C potential, so there is room to grow, and he does have potential, but I just don't think he has major league potential. So that will do it for our draft. Let's take a look at the final potentials for all of our picks, and bam! We had an awesome draft. Louis St. John has 94 potential. Starnes has 90. Tony only has 82. Guy has 80. Pennock has 70. Rosa has 84. What a steal in the 5th round. And DeAndre Kuhn has 74. So I think we drafted 6 players who could be major leaguers at some point in this series. Louis St. John is going to be a main player who we build around. Julian Starnes is going to be our long-term closer. And Josh Toney, Jay Guy, Tobias Pinnock, and Felix Rosa are all players who I do think have a major part in our major league future. So I think we had an outstanding first draft. Let's take a look at the rest of the majors real quick, see where all the other elite prospects went, see how many diamonds in the rough there are. And there were definitely a lot of diamonds in the rough for sure. Carmen Sixto is a guy who I really wanted in the second round. He reminds me a lot of Benny Ling. For those who watched the Pirates series last year, Benny Ling was an 18-year-old first baseman from Japan who ended up being a fan favorite, and Carmen Sixto has a lot of similarities to him. Buford Wise of the Royals has 98 potential. That is the highest potential of anybody in this draft class. So even though he's a little bit raw, the Royals got a great pick. Duncan Driscoll is with the Angels. He is a 66 overall with 92 potential. So the same rating as our first round pick, but he has worse potential. So I think Louis St. John is the better prospect over Duncan Driscoll. And then Julio Lantigua ended up getting drafted by the Philadelphia Phillies. Lantigua only has 91 potential, but he is a 74 overall. This guy looks like an absolute stud, and he's someone who's going to be called up fairly soon. The Phillies already have Alec Bohm, though, so I don't really know how that would work. Who knows? Maybe we try to trade for Julio Lantigua. If the Phillies really don't need him, then maybe we could make something work. Thurman Voy Lowe was the number 1 overall pick. The other guy we had considered, he is a 67 overall with 92 potential. So of the 4 guys we were eyeing up, our player has the highest potential at 94. So overall, again, a really good draft here for the Baltimore Orioles. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Next episode, we're going to get back with the Major League Club and go over the month of June. So I hope you guys are ready for that. I'm out. Peace.